We are back with Monica Lewinsky, who has a new podcast out. It is called Reframing.
On the podcast, she interviews celebs and friends like Alan Cumming and Olivia Munn.
I love this. Hi, Monica.
Hi.
We're so happy you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about reclaiming as a verb or as a title.
Exactly. Well, no, it's interesting you said that because the act of reclaiming is really about getting something back that was lost or taken from you.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about this concept for years, actually, but through this personal lens. And then last year, it just felt like actually we could widen the aperture and turn that lens and have conversations with other people. And when you start to look at the world through this kind of elastic prism of reclaiming, you just start to see it everywhere, big and small. I mean, you know, it's my own history being a narrative, like having reclaimed my narrative would fall into that big category. And then I won't use a swear word now, but you know,
you can use it. No.
The small ones are like, you know, I stop myself from giving someone on the freeway the bird.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I've already called them a name. But even just
in the privacy of your own car.
Exactly.
You reclaim
I love that.
Well, it's so interesting because on your podcast, your first episode is a producer interviewing you about your own journey of reclaiming.
Yes.
Was there something that you learned about yourself opening up in that forum?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think that it was, I got emotional in places I wouldn't have expected. And so it was just also very, I didn't want to do it. But eventually agreed. We had, one of our producers was born in 1999, and we just found it in the process of standing up the show that people had questions, and so it just made sense. Since my own reclaiming story is in the bones of the show, it made sense to do that.
You recently did a Rolling Stones article, and you talked about failure. It's actually my biggest concern as a mom, that I don't feel like our kids are allowed to fail, and I failed publicly, you know, and it was actually what makes me, I feel like my superpower. I feel brave because you can come out of something.
Yeah.
Like, we need to teach kids that they can come out of things.
Right.
Are you still scared of failure, or do you feel like you've kind of...
100%. You're still scared, Jenna. Yeah. I think that especially historically, my mistakes were expensive.
Yeah.
And so this idea, I think failure can come from mistakes. And again, it was sort of something I recognized in myself in the last few months as we've been standing up the show of, I was, you know how you ask yourself questions sometimes to unpack.
Oh my God, you're allowed to say that. By the way, beep it out, beep it out.
Okay, that's how comfortable you guys made me. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. No, but you ask questions to think, like, why am I like this?
And so I was asking myself, why do I feel the podcast has to be an A++? If it's not the best podcast that everybody's listening to and talking about, that then it's a failure. Why isn't an A- that does well? Why isn't that okay? You know, so you just, I think there is that sense. I mean, and for me too, I think the failure comes from, I couldn't get a job for a very long time. I wasn't able to support myself at an age where most people are supporting themselves. And I'm 51 and I'm still kind of trying to find my way. So,
but it's kind of amazing that this is, that in some ways I feel like this vehicle, a podcast, learning from others, will be a way to do that. You have amazing guests.
Thanks.
Some are your friends. Some are people you haven't met before. Olivia Munn, Alan Cumming, who we love here. Talk about what you've learned. Like, is there a particular story where you've like, oh wait, this is empowering?
It's, you know, I think that it's been, I've learned something from every single interview that I've done so far, which I think has been 8. And they've all been different and extraordinary, in part because the podcast is not prescriptive. You know, it's not so much about learning, you know, here are the 3 things that are takeaways. I really wanted people to walk away feeling connected and to find that own connection in their own experience. But I mean, I've known Alan Cumming for 25 years. I had no idea that he had been, when he was a teenager, he had been groomed by an older man. You know, I've known Molly Ringwald for 25 years. I didn't know she had had this experience of being misunderstood around how she was metabolizing the enormity of being so famous at such a young age.
Yes.
And then Olivia, I knew about Olivia's breast cancer before she went public with it, but I didn't know the whole, you know, as a friend, you sort of, you step in when you hear things, and then you get the bits and pieces. And so to just, my brave, brilliant, beautiful friend, to listen to her story of what she went through with cancer, and then this incredible thing she did of showing her mastectomy scars.
Yeah.
You know,
she's so brave.
So
brave.
And so are you.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you, I listened to some of this yesterday, not even knowing you were going to be on the show.
Thanks, Jenna.
And it's beautiful, and it's
really
important,
is.
and it's an A+. You heard it from me.
Thank you.
Okay? You'll hear it from me.
Thank you.
I don't know how you're still standing, because at 19 I would have crumbled.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at, honestly, just one of the bravest people.
Oh, thanks. I've sort of in the last decade, I just often felt if I'm only end up being a poster child for other people to know you can survive something difficult, that's an extraordinary gift.
It's a
very
gift.
extraordinary.
You guys, Reclaiming with Monica Lewinsky is available wherever you get podcasts.
Yeah, listen to it now.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC, or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.